Every day, millions of people are fighting for their lives.
Many are walking around with this disease that is destroying you and don't even know it.
Fighting to stay healthy, fighting to see another day. It's called cancer. About 1 in every 20 Americans are fighting for their lives, from breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, to skin cancer.
These are just a few of the major diseases that are attacking all of us every single day. Take the time to get yourself checked out at least every 6 months. It can save your life.
It can help save others.
Hi, my name is Michael of Professor Benson. You may know me as the host of the Da.Latin.Groove Radio Network. As everybody out there has listened to the show knows and understands that I have been a 3-time cancer survivor. And when it comes to cancer, I can totally attest to the fact that there's certain things you need to do. I've fought for cancer all my life. Even though I've already beat cancer 3 times, every day is a grind. You must understand that in order to survive, you have to get proper help at the right time. That means preventive. That means asking questions. That means going to the doctor on a regular basis. Get in touch with a local physician immediately. Go to www.cancer.org, www.cancercenter.com. Once again, thanks guys.
Stand up to cancer.
This is DJ Friktion. Stand up to cancer.
Hey, this is Spencer coming at you. Stand up to cancer.
Today's show is brought to you by our great friends at Amazon.com. Get all your latest gadgets, appliances, and so much more. For those special deals, head on over to our official website, www.102DLGRadioOrlando.com, and click on the Amazon icon today and get your special deals today. It's now time for the weekly rundown right here on iHeartRadio with your host, DJ Friktion, Michael, the Professor Benson, and Kevin, the Iceman. Tapee, don't go anywhere because it's about to go down right now. Yeah, 102 DLG Radio. We are broadcasting live right now for the weekly rundown. Yeah, checking out our brand new intro to the show, and it is the Professor's favorite song of all time, "Going Down for Real" by Flo Rida. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We got a great show for you. Joining me live tonight, please welcome my partner in crime, the Professor Michael Benson, and then the Iceman. The man with the master plan. Don't let him fool you, though. He's evil. We like to call him Dr. Evil. That's why he's the Iceman. Anyways, y'all, here's the Iceman, Kevin Tapee. What's going on, guys?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going. It's going. It's going.
It's nice to be back after a week off. Did you enjoy yourself while you were gone?
Listen, I had a little bit more fun than I was had planned.
Yeah, but see, that's what you're supposed to do on a vacation like that.
Yeah, it was a little bit too much fun than usual, so it's all good.
Cool.
Anyways, guys, we are broadcasting live of this very special Tuesday evening. It is now 7:04 p.m. after the hour. It's Eastern Standard Time. Hey, listen, you want to come join us right now, live in chat? We're trying this brand new chat room out, where it uses your social media, and it brings it all into one place. So come on over and join us right now at chatwing.com/Da.Latin.Groove.Radio.Show, and come join us right now. We got the people up in the chat joining us right now. I want to show some love to, how do you say his name? I want to make sure I say it correctly. Jarnetto from Brazil is up in the chat right now. We also got the Professor Michael Benson, which is our host here tonight. Also, the Iceman is up in the chat. You can look him under Kevin Tapee. That's the Iceman. And of course me, DJ Friktion. That is myself. Right here. Anyways, guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. And what do you guys want to start off this week? It's good to be back, by the way. I missed you guys so much.
Why don't we start off with where you were last week? Because, you know, I know where you were, and and Mike knows where you were, but I'm not sure our listeners know where you went.
Well, listen, if they haven't known by now, I was on a very special trip. I went on vacation because I felt like I needed a vacation. So when I went ahead and went to the Bahamas, me and the wifey, or soon-to-be wifey, went out to the Bahamas and spent the whole week up there, and it was beautiful, man. It was a great experience. We traveled the Royal Caribbean. It was my very first boat trip, or whatever you want to call it, ship, because I know Mike is anal about certain things. So
cruise ship.
Cruise ship. Okay, there you go. My very first cruise ship. And let me tell you something. I know a lot of people rant and rave about certain things. You know, maybe I was overhyped about going on a boat, and you know that's my fault. Maybe I was expecting a little bit more than what I had saw. When you really think about it, when you spend a whole week on a ship, you don't really realize how small the ship is. So yeah.
Yeah, it is small. I mean, the one you went on is it's an older ship. It's one of the smaller ones. Now they come 3 times that size.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, you can walk the whole ship. You know, if you walk at a nice pace, you can walk the whole ship in maybe about 20 minutes.
Yeah. So what was your impression of the ship? Did you? All right. Let me rephrase that. What expectation did you have that wasn't necessarily what you got?
Well, okay, the only reason why I decided to go on a cruise is because for the past couple of years, my sister's been ranting and raving, oh my god, you gotta go on a cruise, it's amazing and it's awesome. And then, of course, you know, you've been on a lot of trips too, you say, hey, you know, it's a good experience, you should go ahead and do it. So, of course, I went ahead and got my feet wet, and, of course, my first thing was getting on the ship. You know, everything ran smoothly, you know, you made your way from the shuttle, you know, dropped you off right in front of the boat, and all you just pretty much, you know, just take care of your luggage. You just board the boat, and of course, you know, they give you a certain amount of time. They'll make an announcement, say, hey, it's now official. You can go to your room, or whatever it is. So we finally go to our room, and let me tell you, I'm a big-broaded guy, shoulder-wise. I go to the room to walk through the door, and I gotta like turn sideways almost just to walk through the freaking door. I was just like, wow. So then I walk into the room, and then the room is like maybe 10 feet by 8 feet.
Yeah, it's 130 square feet.
And it's not a lot of room. So you got like a bed in there, and then you turn around, you got the small television up on the wall. But the best part about the whole thing is you got a bathroom that's like maybe 5 feet in length, if you're lucky, maybe 3. And you sit down on the toilet, you look at the mirror, and you just like you could like pretty much just reach out and touch the shower wall. That's how.
Yeah. Well, you sailed on Royal Caribbean, and they have some of the smallest cabins at sea.
Yeah.
At least on the inside. I know I've been on other lines, and they're 195 square feet. And you don't think that 65 extra square feet would make a difference, but it really does. So what surprised you about the cruise in a good way?
Well, surprisingly, a lot of people are saying, you know, and I kind of heard reviews about the ship's entertainment was kind of so-so, you know, it's not that great. But I got to tell you, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, he was a cruise director. He was freaking amazing. Like, he was hilariously funny. All the shows that, you know, that happened to be our entertainment while we were on the water for the couple of days was amazing. Like, I was just like thrown back. Like, you had these off-Broadway shows that they did melodies of. It was like freaking. It was awesome. It was awesome altogether. But the cruise director, whoever was in charge of the activities, man, I had an awesome time. The only thing,
that's good.
The only negative I have to say about the cruise is the fact is I paid for a drink package. I paid for a drink package, and there were no souvenir cups.
Really?
You
had to buy the souvenir cup if you wanted it?
There were no souvenir cups on the boat whatsoever. Not even for sale.
Oh, man.
So
man, that's a change. It's been since 2007 since I've been on Royal Caribbean.
So if you...
And they had them everywhere.
So if you were thirsty, you would have to go to the bar to get a Coke or a Sprite. That's all that you had the option to have. So that means I couldn't have my root beer. I couldn't have anything else special. But, you know, I made up for it. I just got, you know, my beverages, my beer and stuff, and my wine and all that good stuff. I was fine.
Yeah.
Kind of made up for it.
I know other lines have souvenir cups, and they beat you over the head with them.
No.
So what did your drink package cost for you and Shakira?
So, well, she didn't get a drink package. I got the drink package myself, and it was like $35. Plus, you got to pay gratuity on top of that. So the gratuity with taxes and everything was like an extra $20 or whatever it is. But then, I didn't realize this, and I should have did a little bit more research, but at the end of your cruise, there's an additional gratuity, which come to be $12 a day for the people who are cleaning your room.
Well, there's 3 people that get that. There's the table waiter, and the assistant waiter, and the cabin steward. They get, the waiter gets $3.50 per person per day. And the cabin steward gets $3.50 per person per day, and then the assistant waiter usually gets like $2.50. It just depends on the line. It's $12 a day now. Wow.
It was $12 a day, and I was.
And if they do a shitty job, how's that? How about that for?
Well, you can take the gratuities off your bill if you want.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was $12 a day. I mean, I had maybe only one bad experience while being on the boat. Like I said, I went to go. You know, I went to the bar. I was like, hey, you know, they told us to come here to get my soda. I was like, I would like so-and-so. And they were like, sorry, we don't have that here. You have to choose between Coke or Sprite. That's it. And it was pretty rude. And that was the only... And I gave my feedback to the Royal Caribbean. I mean, overall, it was a great experience. I would do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, the island was beautiful. The private island. And I wish... Unfortunately, we had, you know, a day and a half of rain. The first day we sailed out was raining. And then the second day was like, it rained for like half the day while we're on the private island. But, I mean, overall, the last 2 days was amazing.
Yeah, we had kind of grayish skies when you got to Nassau, too.
I know. Shakira's waving at you.
Not that I was creeping on you or anything, but I do watch those webcams pretty much every day. I check in to see who's in port.
And
so maybe you should try a different line.
Yeah, we're thinking about maybe doing what was the other one? Carnival next time around.
Yeah. Because
they got the awesome water slides.
Yes. Carnival's got some great stuff going on. You can check my Seaworthy blog. At Seaworthy Jacks on Twitter.
By the way, check out his blogs, guys.
So the next question I have is, for 2 tickets, everything inclusive cost-wise, not going out on the island or whatever, but inclusive for the trip itself. Where did it come out to?
Okay, so the island's included. Just so you know, it's all included. I mean, this is what you paid. For my ticket and Shakira's ticket, we paid about $700 in total. So you're looking at $350 per person, and that's in taxes and everything, which is awesome. Which is pretty good because it includes all the shows. You get to see all the shows for free, which are amazing. All your food is included. You get buffet style. You get to go to one restaurant that does where you have to kind of dress up a little bit, or you can do just semi-casual, whatever it is.
On the boat.
Yeah. But
what? On the island or on the boat you get to go to one restaurant?
You get to go to one fancy restaurants for free.
Yeah, it's the main dining room.
Yeah, the main dining room.
On the ship, not on the island.
The island, they should have like barbecue or burgers or stuff.
Yeah, on the island now, you get all that's free to you. I mean, whatever's on the island. Of course, if you got the drink packages, that's included on the island. Otherwise, you get water and orange juice for free, pretty much. But if you want sodas or anything specific, you got to pay for it. So that's why you gotta. That's why you gotta go, get that drink package or whatever it is.
And your drink package is also liquor, right?
Yeah, so you can do like beers and wine. I mean, there are more drink packages where you can do like harder liquor, but I just stuck with the beer.
I'm just asking because Denise doesn't drink beer; she drinks martinis, stuff like that, mixed drinks. She doesn't drink.
Well, then she would probably be looking at like the $45, $50 package, which has like the martinis and type of like frozen drinks.
Now, are you considering that with your inclusive what it cost you of the $700, or was that over and above?
No, that's extra. Anything, drink packages are extra.
Okay, so when you left, when you looked at your wallet when you were done, what was your wallet saying to you?
So after me paying my cruise portion, which is $350. Then I paid an additional $35 a day for my drink packages, which is worth it because I love drinking beer, and I had a great time. So I was probably looking at another maybe
$150 if it was for 5 days.
Well, 4 days.
$140 plus the $12.
So it was like $160 for the gratuity, including the gratuity for that. So, which is not bad. So you're looking at like $500.
Yeah. See, here's what I told people when I used to sell cruises: is that when you go on a cruise, if you spend $1,500 for the week to pay for the cruise, bank on spending probably about anywhere between $700 and $1,200 while you're on the cruise. Because you're talking alcohol, and I mean, we don't buy the drink package because neither one of us drink that much, don't drink enough to warrant it. But you know, we might have $14 or $15 a night of drinks. But you know, where we get nailed is by going to the gift shop, because Kirsten loves to buy T-shirts, so she'll buy T-shirts and souvenirs and stuff like that, and she'll always play bingo. She loves bingo.
What was I gonna say? Give me a second, guys. I'm actually advertising again. So I mean, basically, I spent about close to $500. It was cool. I mean, you got all you can eat all day long. You can eat as many times as you want. You get all the desserts, all that stuff for free. You get to go on the island and do, if you want to do any extra activities. You know, there's like snorkeling and stuff, but you know that's extra. I mean, overall, it's $500. I got to relax. I got to see a lot of things. I got to experience a lot of great, you know, meet a lot of great people, a lot of great shows. The staff there were amazing. They knew your name by heart. I mean, so you go sit at the same table every evening, and your waiters and stuff, they took care of you, which was amazing. I mean, overall, it was a good experience on the Royal. Being my first Royal Caribbean cruise, I would have to get it out of a 10. I would probably have to say I'll give it about an 8.
All right.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, 8's pretty decent. I mean, it was fun. It was fun.
Oh, that's good.
Now, Kevin, is Carnival better than Royal Caribbean?
I definitely hear it is.
Well, and here's the thing, is that I've sailed on Royal Caribbean 3 times. Now, granted, I haven't been on it since 2007, but the first cruise I took on Royal Caribbean was a 3-day out of Miami, and I hated it because we had an inside room. Well, it was a travel agent trip because I was an agent at the time. But we had an inside room, and there was no room to breathe, turn around, or do anything in there. And then the service was really lousy on that cruise, and the food was not that great either. The second one we went on happened to be the same week that a new ship came out, so they had pulled the staff, a lot of the staff from the ship we were on, to help get the new ship started. So the service was really bad on that ship, and they were apologetic. They were great. I mean, it was just that there wasn't enough people. The service we got was good, but it was sporadic at best. And then the last cruise we went on with Royal, it was okay, but the people acted like it was our privilege that they were there to work with us. Now, whereas on Carnival, I mean, my gosh, you know, I'm not an advertisement for them, but I definitely get a different level of service on Carnival. You'll hear a lot of jokes about Carnival, people comparing them to, you know, Walmart. If Walmart had service like Carnival, I'd shop there more often. Let's put it that way. So, you know, there is a difference. I mean, Norwegian is a bit different too. I mean, Norwegian has a different kind of spin on it. You know, it's more of a freestyle cruise where you can have dinner when you want, where you want, but they do charge for some of their upscale restaurants. So, you know, there is that. It's not as inclusive as Carnival is, or as Royal Caribbean is. And then, of course, you have the Mouse. You know, the Mouse has cruise ships, but the Mouse's prices are out through the roof, but you get what you pay for. It's an excellent experience.
I mean, I would do it again. I mean, I would recommend for the professor to go ahead and try it out. I mean, I had a good time overall.
In order to get the best price, how do I go about that?
Well, the best price, there's really a couple of ways you can do it. First is you can talk to a travel agent. That's one way, because travel agents can do things for you that you can't do on your own. Like, as a travel agent, I might buy what's called group space. And Mike, you may know about prospecting. You may, I don't know exactly how to relate it to you in what kind of work you do, business sense, but you may buy something on the idea that it will sell for a higher rate, or it'll sell for you. What an agent does is they buy group space. They'll buy 10 cabins at a set price, and then they'll sell them, and that price is usually lower than what you can booking it as an individual. Now, what does the travel agent get out of that? The travel agent gets extra commission, which in turn helps them, but it also helps you. So you can use a travel agent. The other thing you can do is you can do your research on the internet, compare between a whole bunch of different sites, and those sites will give you different rates. And a lot of times it has to do with the website buying group space. And then the last thing you can do is go through the cruise line itself, because sometimes the cruise line has a better rate than what you can find on the internet, because they don't pay commission to their employees. They're straight up salary. That encourages them to.
And when you're saying compared to the internet, are you talking about like Travelocity, places like that, websites like that?
Exactly. I'm talking about Travelocity, Cruise.com. And if you're going to look online for cruise rates, I wouldn't necessarily look at Travelocity and say, okay, this is my best rate. I would look at Cruise.com. I would look at iwantacruise.com. I'd be looking at a different travel sites that deal specifically with cruises, because the benefit of that is they're usually premier providers, or how should I put it? They're usually more of the preferred provider for cruise companies, because they sell more of their product than Travelocity does or Expedia does.
And if I were considering doing a cruise, what would be the best time of year to do the cruise?
Best time of year to cruise depends on really depends on where you go. If you're talking about the Caribbean, for the cheapest prices, you want to go during hurricane season, because hurricane season offers lower rates, because your chances of missing a port because of inclement weather go up. Because if you've got a hurricane churning through the eastern Caribbean, you might have a ship scheduled to go to St. Thomas and San Juan that will change their itinerary and go to Ocho Rios and Cozumel. So if you do that, you have to be aware of that, and you have to be ready to accept a change in port. So if you got your heart set on St. Thomas, do it between, say, November and April, because then you're more likely to get St. Thomas. If you're talking about choice of having the most ships to choose from, what they call prime season generally starts in November and runs through about this time in April. A lot of the ships now are transitioning to Europe. So if you want to sail Europe, it's between now and November that you'd want to do that. And Alaska season runs May through September. So, and of course, if you're going to Hawaii, it's really difficult, because that's so far out. It's a specialized market, and you really have to do that on a longer cruise.
Well, if I wanted to do a Alaska cruise, I would have to fly to Seattle, wouldn't I?
You can fly to Seattle and do Seattle round trip. You can fly to Vancouver, do Vancouver round trip. You can fly to Seattle and do a one-way that will take you into Alaska. And you can, and I'm not sure, Juneau, Alaska. Juneau's one of the ports. And then you can do what's referred to as a northbound or a southbound. If you decide to do a northbound or a southbound, that's a little tricky, and that's where you really do need somebody that understands cruising to make sure that you get the right cabin. Because you'll look online and you'll go, wow, the cabins on this side of the ship are $500 more than this side, so I'm going to book the side that's less. The problem is when you do that, you're not going to see anything, because you're looking at the ocean while everybody else is looking at glaciers. So that's where you really do need to have somebody that knows what they're talking about, or knows what's up.
Well, that's why we have Kevin.
There you go.
That's why you are the man.
There you go. Hit me up on Twitter or hit me up on my blog, and I'll answer any questions you got about cruising.
Let's go cruising. Yeah, I know you're ready for your new cruise.
Yeah, I'm looking at the week of August 8th, and we've got it narrowed down to 2 or 3 choices, all on Carnival. We're looking at one out of Los Angeles that we might do. We're looking at another one out of Port Canaveral that goes to Aruba, Curacao, and Grand Turk. And then the other one is, we've looked at it, but we're not too sure. It's one out of Galveston, but we're not sure we want to do that. because it's a little. Los Angeles is easier to get to than Galveston, which is hard to believe.
Gotcha. All right, guys. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we got some very interesting topics that we need to talk about here on the show today. So, are you guys ready to go to commercial? And we'll be right back in a few minutes. Is that cool, you guys?
Catch you guys on the flip side.
All right, guys. We'll be back in just a few minutes, y'all. Spread that love, y'all. Labrador, what's going down? We'll be right back in about 3 minutes or so. So sit back and enjoy. You listen to the weekly rundown with yours truly, DJ Friktion, y'all. Spread that love. We'll be right back right after this. Today's show is brought to you in part by our great friends at Amazon.com. Get all your latest gadgets, appliances, and so much more. For those special deals, head on over to our official website, www.102DLGRadioOrlando.com, and click on the Amazon icon today and get your special deals today.
You're listening to Spreaker Web Radio.
Hey y'all, it's the wild and wonderful Brenda White, and I would like to send you a very special invite to join me every week right here at Spreaker.com for all the Brenda White shows. Beginning Wednesday night, it's our political talk show, Let's Talk About It, with Jackie, Walt, and Brenda. It's a little hilarious, it's a little outrageous, but most of all, it's very informative. So join us every Wednesday night for Let's Talk About It from 10 until midnight. Then comes Thursday night, and it's Up All Night with Brenda White. I've got a little jazz, I've got a little R&B, I've got some smooth hip-hop, I've got a whole lot of funk, and then I've got one last hour of baby-making music. So join me every Thursday night for Up All Night with Brenda White from 11 until 3 a.m. Then comes Friday night, and it's nothing but the blues with your girl Brenda Pearl, and that title speaks for itself. So join me at the Boogaloo Cafe every Friday night for nothing but the blues with your girl Brenda Pearl from 10 until 1 a.m. And then late Friday night, Saturday morning, let's get soft and warm together. Yes, it's soft and warm. The best sexual, sensual, love-making music on the net from 3 a.m. until I say it's over, okay? So join me every week for all the Brenda White shows right here at the #1 broadcasting network on the net, and that's Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. All times Eastern.
Today's show is brought to you in part by our great friends at MCM Freedom. Earn some free cash today for your YouTube channel, radio broadcast, or even your video broadcast. It's simple. Just go over to our official website, www.102.DLGRadioOrlando.com. Click on that Freedom logo and get registered for free today, guys. Who doesn't want their free money? Yes, someday. Let them know that 102.DLG Radio Orlando sent you. Yeah, 102 DLG Radio. We're broadcasting live right now. You're listening to the weekly rundown with your truly DJ Friktion, the Professor Michael Benson, and of course the Iceman Kevin Tapee, and we are broadcasting live. Listen, this is the first time we're using the chat live over on Chatwig or whatever it's called.
Chatwing.
WING.
Is chat, yeah, whatever it is. Anyways, we're using a brand new Chatwing. It's a brand new website we're trying out, and it seems like we got some miscommunication with some other people over in the chat. They seem like they're having some issues, but we'll get it all worked out. We'll get it all figured out. But anyways, guys, come join us right now. We are broadcasting live. Joining me are my partners in crime, of course, the Professor Michael Benson, and I think you may need some more light in there, Professor, because you look like you're getting a tan over there.
I am tan.
All right, guys. So what else do we have going on this evening? By the way, if anybody wants to call into the show, the phone lines are open: 407-459-7988. Oh my God, look at that! You don't look so tan anymore. Look like you just been holding your breath.
Hey, we need to let Jarnetto know, which I'll probably do here right now, that we are what our page is, because I think he's a little confused.
I think there's a little confusion on a lot of parts, because he says this is his chat window, we say it's ours, but just join us in there and you can talk to a Brazilian about whatever you want, or you can talk to us.
No, but the thing is that what kind of confuses me is that in the link it shows our address for the chat room.
Exactly.
And it's showing up that he says it's his. I don't know, whatever. Whatever, I'm not going to worry about it. We're here to have some fun anyways. Welcome. Whether you belong here or not, welcome. Just leave it like that. Alright, guys, so what's on the plan this evening? What we got going on, guys?
Mike, let's go with your question of the week.
Alright, hold on. I was trying to type a chat for him, but I'll come back over. Okay, question of the week. Are you happy with your life? And I asked this on our Facebook page over at 102 DOG Radio FM, and life is short. And the reason I asked this question, I hear everybody complaining all the time about they're not happy with their life. And I find it hard to believe, no matter what's happened in your life, how can you not be happy to be alive? So many of us fight so hard to be alive every day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can see where certain things in your life take place, but I believe in fate also. And if you understand what fate is all about, you'll understand that you wouldn't be where you are today probably because of certain things that did happen, good or bad, in your life. So the bad things in your life are not really bad to a certain degree, I guess I'm saying. There are things that are going to take place in your life at some point, like when people die in your life, or new people come into your life, or people leave your life, like loved ones or boyfriends or girlfriends or wives, spouses, husbands, and so on. But to a great extent, that's what makes us who we are at the point where we're at. You know, as I discussed this with you guys, I'm 50 years old, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't what I went through in my life up to this point in my life. Certain aspects in my life created who I am. Now, I was very athletic as a young man, and had scouts watching me play baseball when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. College scouts watching me play. And my grandfather would go to my games, and he would talk to him all the time. And my grandfather told me, he says, they say if you continue at the pace you're at, you're going to have a nice little career in baseball as a pitcher and as a center fielder and so on and so on. But you know what? I never got to achieve that level because I had cancer at 16. Not soon after all that took place.
Mm-hmm.
And was told I was going to die at 16 years old. They gave me 3 months to live, and I'm here today. So, did fate somehow intervene along the way? Question being, what is fate?
Interesting.
Fate is a supernatural happening, they say, to a certain degree. And fate is also the living of life, because instances taking place in your life are fate. Now, we can put ourselves in fate and create some of that fate, or things can naturally happen. And when I say we can create that fate, well, if we hadn't have been rock climbing, and we loved the rock climb, but we decided not to go on that rock climb that day, and all our friends died because they fell from that rock or something happened, or that mountain or cliff, that was fate, right? Well, no. Something intervened along the way for me to decide not to go. Was it fate or was it not fate? I believe it is fate.
Or was it divine intervention, if you want to go there?
Exactly.
Well, and here's my thought on that is that I have a very good friend of mine who lived across the street from me for a while here, and he was playing softball one afternoon in North Carolina, and he slid hard into second base and really tore up his leg, fairly gruesomely tore up his leg. So much so that he was taken to the emergency room, and when he got to the emergency room, they ran some tests and they delivered news to him that he had cancer.
Wow.
So if he hadn't had the accident playing softball, would they have found the cancer? That's the question. So is it divine intervention or is it fate? Now, his perspective on life and your perspective on life is you know what, if I don't drive the car that I want, it's not a big deal because I'm still here. But you guys have had to do something I can't relate to. You've had to fight for your life. I've never had to do that. So my perspective on life is quite limited, really, when you stop and think about it, because I've never had that point where I thought, well, that's not true. That's not totally true. I've had one instance where I could have died, but I didn't know I could have died until the danger was past.
Exactly. But everybody, I want it to be known that everybody faces adversity in their life. And adversity is how you handle things. Mm-hmm. Okay? How you handle the negative and the positive that takes place in your life. That adversity of overcoming a challenge is adversity. But the adverse side of it is how did you handle it? Now, you could have something happen in your life and it becomes a negative, or you can have something happen in your life and it becomes a positive. The same thing happened in your life. It could go either way depending on how you handle it.
Right.
Now, I could have took it to the negative and not been as positively adverse in how I was going to handle living or dying at that point in time of my life.
Right.
But I made a conscious decision at that point that I was going to live.
Right.
Now, divine intervention, be it God, and fate being certain things that took place that just made it possible for me to live. Maybe the doctors doing what they did when they did it. Maybe the radiation that they got me under real quick. All the surgery I went through. Those parts of the fate put it in my hands that, I died during that period and I came back to life after surgery. I remember it. They tell me they don't remember it happening, but I do. But the doctor who operated it on me, being that lucky to maybe have that doctor, things you will never really know or understand in that whole transaction.
Because
that's to a certain degree. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I think it really depends on the person too, because I know people who will tell you that, like me in general, overall I'm happy with my life. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be here doing what I'm doing. There are aspects of my life that could be better, but I think everybody experiences that. So overall, am I happy with life? Yeah, overall I am happy with life. But there are things that I would change about what's going on in my life that would make it even better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now, the next part to the question I asked was regret. If you are happy and if you're not happy, why and why not? But I've answered that and you've kind of answered that. And I want everybody else to ask themselves these questions, because these questions could actually, what we're discussing in the questions, if you really analyze yourself and your life, could maybe bring a different aspect on how you looked at life and maybe how you looked on certain incidences in your life, and maybe you could change how you perceive things as you get older and understand them better. Because a lot of people do, and it's called reflection, a lot of people do not reflect back on certain things that took place as far as why or what could I have done differently. Yeah, it's too late. You can't change the past, but you can change the future. So by reflecting on the mistakes that were made in the past, like Kevin was saying, I could change things to make my life better. That comes into the fact of what is regret now. Do you regret anything that transpired in your life?
From my perspective is I do a lot of reflecting, and part of that is because the job I used to do as a teacher required me to reflect a lot, because the best tool people have for improvement is reflection. Because when you reflect on the decisions you've made or the choices you've made, that tells you, okay, if I'm in that same situation again, how would I handle it? Do I regret anything in my life?
I think we all do in some ways.
I actually there's a couple things I regret with my dad, but my dad passing away precipitated the end of my first marriage. And if that first marriage hadn't ended, I wouldn't have met my second wife, and I wouldn't have the child I have now. So I can't regret that decision at all. I can't regret that decision. Wasn't one I made. He died. I didn't have a choice there. Mm-hmm. But that turned the tables in my first marriage to the point where I would not have met the woman I'm with now, and I wouldn't have the son I have now. So would I change that decision? It's a tough call. Would you want your dad back? Yeah, but then again, everything happens for a reason, and it happened to work out for me. So the only regret I have is that I didn't see him the last day he was alive, but there's nothing I can do about that. And even going back in time, I'm not sure I could change it anyway.
I believe I was with you the day before that.
No. He died in 1995.
Yeah.
I was working at the plantation Ponte Vedra down South Ponte Vedra. Were you? I don't recall that. Maybe. See, it was a long time ago.
I was thinking, no, because we left in 1994. I was thinking I was there when he died, though.
You might have been. You might have been in Jacksonville. I don't know if you were.
Denise moved here. I thought I was over at Oak Harbor at my mom's still when he died. I didn't know. I thought he died before then because I remember.
No, December 14th, 1995. It's going to be 20 years this year.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah. I know.
Yep. Now see, and that's one aspect of my life where I'm not happy, and there's nothing I can do about it. Is that I would really like my dad to see his grandson.
Well, yeah, that would have been nice.
I mean, that's an unhappy spot, but then again, there's nothing you can do about that. So what about you, Lewis? Are you happy with life? Your life seems to be going in a good direction.
Well, you know what? It's like you guys are saying. You know, we all go through things in life that we're proud of, and there's just things in life that we all have to experience and that are negative that makes us a better person. And I went through a lot in my personal life, which I'm not going to get too much into, but I think it's made me a better person, the person that I am today. And it's from all the negativity things that I've been through. From my brother being murdered when I was 14 years old, he was 18, to 6 months later experiencing one of my stepbrothers hanging himself in the backyard because he was stressed out and having some issues, to me dealing with financial issues in my past, to freaking dealing with baby mama drama and all the nonsense. You take that stuff and you turn it into a positive. You try to kind of not make those mistakes again, and it's just a learning experience overall. And I've been through a lot of stuff, and I've learned from it. And I try not to let it affect me in my current life, and that's why I'm thankfully I'm in a very, very happy and loving relationship. I don't have any complaints. You don't have to sit there and deal with nonsense. And I saw that. Professor, I'm watching you.
For those of you listening and you can't see the broadcast, Professor has Q-tips, and he started sticking them in his ear, and now he's got them in his nose. So, anyway.
We ain't going there.
I'll tell you where to stick it. Anyways, it's a learning experience, and you just kind of take it as is and just try to, either you learn from it or you don't. And I just choose to learn from it, and better my life. So that's why I'm so happy, where I am right now. So
the only true regret I have in life itself, is not being able to go back and reflect and thank all the people who helped save my life, and give me the family I didn't have when I was going through all that in Hawaii. All the nurses and doctors and everybody at the hospital that really made it possible for me to be here today. I don't remember all their names and everything, and all the doctors, and I don't have any of my military records anymore. Unfortunately, the hospital where they were burned down in Chicago, so I don't have any of that stuff. But that would be a big regret, because I really wanted to tell everybody thank you who were there at Army AAA Medical Center in 1981 in Hawaii and made it possible for me to be here. That was one regret. And the only other regret I can say is I wished growing up I was a very bitter person after all that took place. That I wasn't so negative after I went through all that, and that I treated my friends and family and other people during those tumultuous years from 81 probably through 85 because I got cancer again in 84 and had to go back through everything again. And, that was a very trying time for me as a young kid, between the ages of 16 to 20. I persevered a lot of pain and suffering that I went through, both physically and mentally, from what I went through. And I think I took it out on the people around me. So, saying, I'm sorry that, you had to put up with me during that period, but thank you for doing so. I haven't really had a chance to tell everybody that either. And I've told some people, but not everybody. Those are my only regrets. I'm not regretting anything in my life personally, but regretting how I treated others.
I mean, the thing is, too, we all experience things in life, and sometimes we act out in certain ways towards other people. We don't realize it. We're blinded by, our attitude sometimes, and, that's kind of nice of you to kind of go out there and apologize. But I'm still waiting for my apology.
Yeah, the apology for me is for not talking to me, so.
Yeah. But, it's just part of life. Anyway, so what else we got going on, guys?
Well, the other topic we were discussing for tonight was one that really is close to my mind right now. If you use a credit card or you have a credit card, you have the potential of having your number taken any number of ways and used without your knowledge. Now, before I became a teacher, and I was working for a national bank here in town, and I was on the fraud team at this bank, and I watched the number of different ways that you could have your card number taken, and I thought, hey, I'm an expert in this. I know what to do to prevent myself from being in this situation. Mm-hmm. Having had credit card fraud happen to me 3 times now, I realize that no matter how careful I am,
but hold on,
it can still
explain to everybody. You said you've had this happen to you 3 times already, but explain to people how recently this has happened back to back.
Right. This past, in the last 3 weeks, I've had 2 separate credit card companies contact me about suspicious activity on my account, and both of them happened in South Florida. And I had just gone on a cruise from South Florida, and I had used each card one time while I was in South Florida. I went and bought gas at a gas station with the one card, and I bought gas with the other card on the way home. And it just so happened that the machine, the pump I used, has what's called a skimmer on it. And as soon as I swiped my card, they had the information they needed to then use my card, well, make a copy of my card, put whatever name they wanted on it, and then take it to a store and use it. Now, fortunately, they didn't get me for as much this time as they did last time, and, well, these last 2 times anyway. And the bank gave me my money back, and everything's fine. I didn't lose any money. I guess what really ticks me off about this is that the first time I had it happen was several years ago, and it was almost $3,000 in New Mexico.
Oh, Lord.
And the guy had gone to a Home Depot, had purchased stuff at Home Depot to the tune of about $3,000, and the credit card company called me. The money went back in my account. I was mad, so I called the Home Depot. I got exactly what the guy had bought. I knew what he had bought without even asking, because I'd been in the fraud department. And they said, okay, well, here's the information. I said, all right. So I called the police department in the city of New Mexico. They said, you don't live here. You can't file a report here. You have to file it with your local police department. Okay. So I called my local police department, who said, guess what? The crime didn't happen here. You can't fill out the police report here. So I'm stuck. And then the detective tells me it is a victimless crime. Now, truthfully, when you think about it, that's true, because the bank gets their money back from insurance. I got my money back from the bank. So no harm, no foul, right? Well, what do you think banks charge fees for? Why do you think we have higher interest rates on credit cards? Because they got to collect this money from somewhere. So, I'm trying to think, what's a better way to prevent to prevent identity theft and credit card fraud. I mean, I'm very careful. I don't give out my social security number. I don't do anything over the internet without making sure it's 100% secure. You know, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Kevin, it's happened to me twice in the past 5 years. Denise and our account has been hacked. Basically, pretty much what we can relate it to was credit card scams.
Yeah.
Now, the last one was in 2012. The one prior to that was in 2009 or 10. The first time it happened, they went to Colorado on us, rented a car, had a nice hotel stay, a resort and everything, a couple of grand, and that was on the credit card. Second time was on the debit card.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We used the credit card, so it didn't hit us so hard. But we got our money back in our account and that and so on. The second time, the person who used the credit, and I was at school teaching. Just so happens after the first time, I checked our account every day now.
Yeah.
Still. And I'm at school, I'm checking the account. I said, whoa, wait a minute. My check just went in my account. There's no way. So I'm looking. And I see a debit to an online company. And I'm like, Denise didn't make anything. I didn't make anything. So I started investigating. The person who skimmed us went online and bought another skimmer. Bought another skimmer for like $700.
Oh,
and then
Lord.
bought some other stuff on a internet company that sells a lot of electronics. Forget the name of the company.
People are such idiots.
So they went on there. So I basically took all this information to the credit union that we have, and they said, okay, you got to file a police report. So we went and filed a police report again, same way, that our account had been hacked and so on and so on. And then they, the 3 to 7 days before we get all our money back in our account, I'm sure you went through all that. And we were told the same thing, victimless crime, there's not a whole lot we can do.
Yeah.
We'll contact you if we hear anything else. So, in your defense and in my defense and all those other people out there who have this happen to them, it pisses me off to a certain degree that it's hard to really go there. But do you know Denise just saw a post on one of the web pages, Yahoo or I can't remember which page it was on. There's over 500 skimmers that have been reported in Florida in gas pumps.
Yeah, gas pumps are really popular.
From here, and they just had an outbreak of them that they've, from here all the way, Jacksonville, the whole state of Florida, but the biggest concentration is down 95 all the way to Miami.
Yeah, that's what got me. Now, some of the things I do to protect my accounts are, first off, my debit card never leaves my hand. I never use my debit card for gas. I don't give it to a waiter or waitress to take away from me. I don't pass it through a drive-through to pay for it at McDonald's or anywhere else. And the only place I use my debit card is at like Publix or Target or Walmart or somewhere where I'm standing there putting the pin in and I know I've done it, and I have the reasonable assurance there's not a skimmer on it. Now, the other thing is that you're lucky you got your money back in your checking account, because technically debit cards aren't governed by the same rules that credit cards are, because it's not credit.
Exactly.
And we had, when I worked at the bank, it was tough to make a case on a debit card, particularly when we'd have customers where it was a PIN transaction, because skimmers will pick your PIN up if you have to use it. They'll pick that information up. So, it's irritating, because there are people out there that are making a great living off of this. Now, granted, they can't do it for very long because the cards get caught quickly. And what happens is they take that card into a store and it gets declined. Oh, I'm sorry, I must not have paid that bill, or there's something wrong with the credit card company. I'll just use this other one.
See, the thing that gets me is the fact is, like, when you go to a store, and I know even places that I've been to or have worked at, when they look at your credit card, or whoever swiping the credit card, they don't say, hey, can I see an ID anymore, or any of that stuff. They just let you go ahead and swipe your card, and it may not even be your card, you could be using somebody else's card, or whatever, And then, I mean, God forbid, for whatever we know, let's just say Mike got my card, and he's using it at a store, and I'm thinking, I still got my card in my wallet, God forbid, you know, he goes to a cashier, and they don't say, hey, can I see your ID? I mean, sometimes, there's been some places, and it's been rare, and I was at one place recently, to where they, you know, they actually asked for, my ID, and I was really surprised by that. Yeah. And I was just like, wow.
There's a dollar amount minimum on a lot of them. I remember a while back that it was issued a no. Don't ask your customer for their credit card, Visa, MasterCard, if their account total isn't over $100 or $200 or so on.
Yeah. And
then it's only for a certain amount usually. Now a lot of the companies have a built-in thing where if they see activity of a certain amount of charges on that credit card in the same day, they're going to call you and contact you right away now. Mm-hmm. Also, or if you leave a certain zip code area, that's why they tie a zip code to your card, credit card or your debit card. So if you leave a certain area and they catch a zip code, every now and then they'll do a spot check on that card to see, or call you and say, "Are you a such and such?"
And the key, the thing is that we talk about the ID and seeing the ID, but what happens is that these skim machines collect the information. They don't need the name. All they need is the account number, and that's all they really need. Because what happens is, then let's say that I'm the thief. I'm the guy doing the fraud. I collect Mike's information at a gas pump in Deltona. I then take that and then I put whatever fake name I want on the card. I have a machine that makes a card. I make the card that has whatever name I want on it, and then I take it to a store. If I keep it smart, and like Mike says, keep it under a certain amount, nobody's going to ask for my ID, and I write CID on the back of mine, which is the reason I get carded for it. But it's also, if it's under a certain amount, a signature is not even required anymore. If it's under $50, they don't require a signature on a lot of them. So I could have Ernesto Ramirez, and that's just the name I pulled out of the sky. Ernesto Ramirez on the card. I scan the card. Even if they looked at my ID, I've got an ID that says Ernesto Ramirez with my picture on it, and there goes my charge right through. Now, Mike's credit card company may catch it because I'm not in Deltona. I'm in Dalton, Georgia, and Mike's not there normally, and all of a sudden there's a charge for $400 coming from, Best Buy. They call Mike. Mike says, "No, I'm not in Dalton. I'm sitting right here in Deltona.
Exactly.
I've got the card in my pocket." So then they decline it, and then the next time Ernesto Ramirez goes to Best Buy, he tries that card, and they say, "I'm sorry, sir, it's been declined." He goes, "Oh crap, rotten bank. Here we go again. Let me try this one." So he gives him another card. So there has to be a better way to prevent it, because I don't know what the figures are, but I know that credit card fraud is unbelievable. It's gone through the roof, and I'm frankly fed up with this whole victimless crime thing, because to me, I am still a victim, and Mike's a victim of my fraud. You're a victim of my fraud, DJ, because you guys pay higher credit card fees. You may have an annual fee. You have higher interest rates. I mean, it all goes into the same pot. Banks aren't giving you your money back. They're getting it from somewhere.
I want to take a quick moment. I want to hold on a second. I want to say hi. What's up to the Edge of 8 joining us on the JustCastLive.tv website. Hey guys, come check us out. We are broadcasting live worldwide right now for the weekly rundown. We're talking about credit card fraud. We're talking about all that good stuff right now. So come join us right now. We are broadcasting worldwide. Go over to our official website, www.102dlgradioorlando.com. Join us in the live chat. Also, again, thank you to Just Cast Live for your support and continued support of our program. And, okay, sorry to cut you off, Professor. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to mention that not only is there fraud that way, but I keep getting a call from somebody saying they're out of D.C., right? Saying this is the grant department, and you have just received a U.S. government grant. Now what they're trying to do is get you to give up. When they first talk to you, and I strung them along and strung them along and strung them along, just to see what they're, how they we're going to go about this. And they asked me all this information. I said, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, how are you going to use? And one of the questions is, you've just been selected to receive a $10,000 government grant to spend on whatever you want, right? So I play along with it. Yeah, I'm going to go on a trip and pay my bills and blah, 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 blah. So I go and I go and I go. Then they said, well, you know what? We have another agent who needs to talk to you about all the details so you can receive your $10,000. And then they want you to call or hold so they can transfer you. I can't remember. One wanted you to hold so they could transfer you, and the other one wanted you to call back to another number, right? So I said, when it gets to that point, I said, okay, yeah, go ahead and have them call me back. And I answered the phone, and I said, cheese, you're on camera, bye, like that, messing with them. And then they'll try to call me back again. So the guy calls me back, and then I answered the phone. I said, look, I know it's a scam. I know you're a scam artist. Mm-hmm. I just want to see how much information I could get from how you're doing your scams, and if I could track your phone number. And they go, click. They hang up on you real quick.
Yeah, there's a couple other scams like that, too. There's another one where out of Fort Lauderdale, a law office will call you, or a collection agency will call you, and they'll threaten you with, coming to your work or coming to your house, and they'll give you a claim number. And when you call the number back, you give them the claim number, and then you have to try and settle up whatever debt it is. And even if they have the wrong number, they'll still fight with you. The other one was one I got the other day. I was sitting at the computer and I answered the phone. I was waiting on an electrician to call me, and I thought that's who it was, so I answered the phone. And the guy says to me, this is so and so with Microsoft, and I'm here to fix a security issue for you. And I said, okay, I'm not aware I had a security issue. He goes, well, we've identified a security issue, and we know that your computer is one of the ones affected, and, based on this, that, and the other, we need to fix your computer. Can you give me your IP address? And I said, absolutely not. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll call Microsoft's help number, and then I'll give it to you. And the guy says, no, they don't know anything about it. I'm like, I'm sure they don't. So I hung up on it, but I wonder how many people would fall for that.
I'm telling you, there's probably a lot of people out there falling for it right now. That's just who's not computer smart. You know what I'm saying? They don't know about these things. They take anything for granted. Like they'll think like Iceman said. They think somebody from Microsoft is calling them, or Windows is calling them for a tech issue, and the last thing you know is you give them your IP address, and next thing what? All your information on your computer is gone. All your personal information is gone. And then you're left out in the loop, and you're pretty much screwed.
Or they call you up and tell you, we'll give it all back to you if you pay us a certain amount of money.
$1 million.
But the one about the law office was crazy because I called. They had actually called my son's number, my son's mobile number.
Oh Lord!
And left that message, and I called him back, and I said, I'm sorry, but I need to know who you're calling for. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, we're not telling you who we want until you two tell us who you are. And they said, oh, I see you're not calling from the number we called. And I said, that's right, because the person that owns that phone isn't old enough to have a debt. So I don't know what you're calling for. And the guy argued with me, and finally I said, look, if you're not going to tell me who you are, then if you call his number again, my attorney will call you. I know exactly where you are. And I gave him the address listed for the phone number and haven't heard from him since. But, they're out there, and they're looking for you, folks. So if you're even remotely concerned about what you're hearing, hang up, call somebody else, check with the Better Business Bureau, or do what I did. Look the phone number up on the internet. You'd be surprised. You look a phone number up on the internet, and it will tell you if it's a scam or not, because people will post it.
We got a good question up in the chat room right now. This comes from the Edge of 8. They say, don't they sell handbags that can't be screened or wallets?
Well, it's not so much. Now, see, that's for the RF. If that's for the RF chip. If you have a credit card that has that little metal chip in it, that's a radio frequency transmitter, so that when you touch that card to something, it's kind of like if you guys can relate to the magic bands at Disney, where you put your magic band up to the thing and it reads it, that's an RF transmitter inside that band. Well, the credit card has that too, that you can just pass it over something and it has your information. Well, there's a device that you can use that picks up that frequency if you're close enough. So if you wrap your card in tinfoil or you put it in a certain type of wallet, you can't do that. But what we're talking about with skimming, that has nothing to do with the radio transmitter. That has to do with the actual magnetic strip on the back of your card.
Well, Mike,
and
I'm sorry.
And I'm real careful.
I know Mike has a couple of hiding places, right, Mike?
You know, I used to know somebody that used to freeze their credit cards so they wouldn't use it.
What?
They would put them in a glass of water and freeze them.
I've heard. Who was it? Who did you know who did that?
Lisa?
Lisa.
Yeah, she used to do that.
Your ex-wife?
Yeah.
That must be who I know, where I know from. Because long ago when we were at Walmart, I remember somebody telling me about that.
Yeah, what she'd do is fill a Ziploc bag with water, and then she would partially freeze it. Then she'd put the credit card in, pour the water on top, and then freeze it all the way. So she really had to think about whether she wanted something. It didn't stop her from bringing up about $70,000 worth of debt, credit card debt. So.
Second, actually, we got Jim up in the chat room. He says, "Hey, webcam Whitney."
Webcam Whitney.
Edge
I'm sure she's crying about something else.
Yeah, Edge says, "What do you think about Google Wallet, Android apps, and on Google Play?"
That's a good question. I mean, I've looked into Apple Pay. I have an iPhone 6, and that's part of the features of my Apple. But you know, the thing is what happens if my phone is stolen? You know, I'm more worried about having my credit cards on my phone than I am about having them in my wallet. You know, so I'm kind of concerned about that. Now, if you shop a lot on the internet, there are lots of products out there that work really well. I use something called Bitdefender, and Bitdefender is like one of the premier virus softwares and financial security softwares out there. And I don't have a problem using my credit card through the Bitdefender. I don't use it without it, though.
Mm-hmm. You guys are crazy. Jim says, "I'm going to snatch one of webcam Whitney's videos. I'm going to make an emote for your chat room."
That sounds good.
That'd be very interesting.
We need the right look. We need the right look from webcam Whitney.
We got to get one of her crying or something.
And for those of you who aren't familiar with webcam Whitney, look her up on YouTube. She has some hysterical videos about how she deals with stress.
He says, Jem says, crying or confused. I laugh my ass off.
Or just deluded, one or the other. I'm not sure which.
I'm telling you.
Delusional, you mean, not deluded.
Yeah. Now, I have to admit I'm not familiar with the Google Wallet. I'm not familiar enough with that. You know, I'm a little suspicious of Google and the amount of information that they collect from you. So,
well, you know what the number of the beast is, right?
666.
And everything's going to a number. They're trying to, tie everything to a number, a digit, a scan barcode on your arm type of thing. Yeah, I'm very suspect of a lot of the Apple Pays and all that stuff. And just like I really don't like debit cards. I still wish we were back on a true cash system, because a lot of these issues we have wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't even be discussing them.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world. And I mean, I was working at the bank from '97 to 2001, and during that time, I saw fraud any number of different ways, and I could scare you to death with some of the things I saw. First off, if you have, and folks, listen up closely. If you have a bank account, I don't care how much money you have or don't have, monitor that sucker every single day or at least twice a week to make sure that it's at what it should be. Keep a balance in your head. Keep it written down somewhere, because I saw people who worked at the bank who would watch an account, and if nothing happened to that account for a length of time, they would target that account. And these thieves would target single women who worked at banks with kids, and they would get in with them and they'd say, "Oh, come on, you can tell me some stories about some of the accounts you see." And then sooner than they know it, these ladies were looking through accounts, finding these accounts where there was no activity, or they just sat there earning interest and that was it. And those accounts would be targeted quick, because they're not going to get caught. Because if you go 6 months without doing something in your account, you may never know what happened until it's way too late.
Hey, I got a great comment coming in right now. I definitely want to read to you. This comes from Barbara Walls on Facebook. She says, I really enjoy the show. She says, been thinking about going on a cruise for a long time, and you and Iceman answered a lot of questions I've been needing answered. So she said, thank you very much.
Awesome, and that's on Facebook. Well, then I'll post a link to my blog for her then.
Yeah, most definitely. Barbara, we'll go ahead and post a link on our radio show page. You can check out more stuff from our good buddy Iceman. He does blogs on cruises and stuff, and I think it'll probably be beneficial to you. So most definitely.
And I'll be happy to answer any questions she has. And I have no travel agent affiliation, and I have no cruise line affiliation, so I will answer that as unbiased as possible.
And he'll take tips. Just saying. He has a tip jar. Alright, guys. We're going to go ahead and take another quick break. When we come back, let us know, guys, what we got coming up next. What they can look forward to.
We are going to talk about the situation in Baltimore.
That should be very, very interesting. And it's coming up in just a few minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Are you in need of some love advice, money advice, or career advice? If so, simply purchase your reading via irishpsychic.net. Readings are delivered within 24 hours and can give you all the details you require. Tarot, pendulum, crystal ball. The answers all lie within. Readings start from as little as €3, £2, $4. Log on today and see what's in store for you. irishpsychic.net for all your psychic needs.
Hey listeners, why don't you come on over to JustCast, where casters matter most, and see us live.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Friktion. Looking to start your own radio show? Come on over to Spreaker.com. That's right, I said. Come on over to Spreaker.com and listen to hundreds and thousands of radio shows, or you can start your own, all for free. That's right, I said it. Come on over to Spreaker.com right now. They'll get you set up with a 30-minute free broadcasting account. Mind you, you can broadcast 30 minutes as many times as you want for free. Spreaker.com is where it's at. Other price packages are available. Let them know that the Da.Latin.Groove.Radio.Show sent you. And get your radio show started today.
This is iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio makes you want to move.
When you have a great melody,
a song can last
Forever. Instantly connected.
I love it when the beat goes boom.
iHeartRadio is the way I get to you.
The biggest song, the biggest artist,
all in one place.
iHeartRadio.
I'll see you there.
Today's show is brought to you in part by our great friends at Amazon.com. Get all your latest gadgets, appliances, and so much more. For those special deals, head on over to our official website, www.102DLGRadioOrlando.com, and click on the Amazon icon today. Get your special deals today. Yeah, 102 DLG Radio, you listen to the Weekly Rundown. We are broadcasting live on this very special Tuesday evening. Hey, listen, guys, I'm telling you, we've been having a great show. It's already hour and a half within the show already. Time is flying by pretty quick. But hey, listen, guys, we got some very interesting subjects we want to get into right now. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go ahead and take it into our next segment. For those of you who don't know, there's been controversy after controversy that seems to be getting worse and worse as time has been going by. But I'm going to let you guys go ahead and introduce this next segment.
Well, it's the situation in Baltimore right now is quiet from what I'm reading, but they've had riots over the past several days in Baltimore over a situation involving a gentleman by the name of Freddie Gray, who died in police custody. His funeral was this past, I want to say it was this past weekend, his funeral, and apparently the folks there got out of hand and decided that they were going to riot instead of peacefully protest this gentleman's death. They were going to riot. So they've been torching police cars, looting stores, assaulting police officers, and it's just gotten it's gotten insane to the point where the mayor of the city has asked that the National Guard step in and help restore some order there in Baltimore.
It's very, very sad stuff, man. It's crazy because like 2 weeks ago we were talking about another incident that took place. It's crazy because before we went on air, Iceman was just talking about the rap sheet for the young gentleman that was killed. And if you want to go ahead and try to pull that up,
yeah, I can pull that up. That's not a problem. I mean, I don't want to say that he was a bad guy and deserved to die. Nobody
not at all. But we were talking about this before we went on air. We're just, it's funny because Iceman was just like, listen, check this out. Listen to his rap sheet. And we like we're saying, we're not saying that he was a bad guy in any way, shape, or form. Things happen in life. There's people who had bad rap sheets, turn their lives around, and they're changed their lives around, and they're doing good for themselves.
Yeah, well, this guy Freddie Gray has apparently had a number of run-ins with the police, and not just during the course of his life, but within the last several weeks, he's had run-ins with the police. He's had dealing cocaine, possession of narcotics. Let's see. March 20th, possession of a controlled substance. March 13th, malicious destruction of property, second-degree assault. January, fourth-degree burglary, trespassing. January 14th, possession of a controlled substance. December, possession of narcotics. December, we're talking within several days of each other, and he's had, this guy he's not a saint, but, that doesn't forgive what happened to him, obviously, or it doesn't, say that that's what should have happened to him, but nonetheless, we have to keep it in perspective, and I just had a cousin of mine send me an article from Mother Jones that says that the police apparently were taking people off of buses prior to the riots happening, and that's what precipitated the riots. And she's saying that they had a right to be upset, and I said they have every right to be upset. However, it doesn't give them the right to assault police officers or to burn cars or to loot private businesses. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm Joe Average Citizen. I'm the guy out in America whose opinion you want on your side, because there are more of me than there are of you. Like it or not, that's the truth. And if you want me on your side, if you do what Martin Luther King did and you protest nonviolently, I'm more likely to listen to you. But when you start looting and burning things and destroying things and hurting people and ruining lives, then I'm sorry, you're just as bad as the guy you're protesting's death. Or the guy that did it. Either way.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Professor, what are your thoughts on this whole situation in the Baltimore, Maryland, Freddie Gray riot?
I just wonder how many of the rioters have read Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, or actually heard or listened to that speech, because he would be turning in his grave right now in shame and crying what they do every time they riot. It puts a bad reflection on their race, and it's a shame that the whole race is looked upon because of a few dumb idiots.
Yeah.
But they bring such bad negative publicity to themselves. Instead of doing it the right way, it's okay to have a protest. Nothing wrong with a protest.
Right.
It's the way of being heard.
Exactly.
But to be heard in a positive manner versus a negative manner. Who are you hurting when you burn down buildings? Who are you hurting when you're burning your own city down? Who are you hurting when you're taking it out on police officers who had nothing to do with Freddie Gray, who are there just trying to keep the peace and doing their job? They're put out there. You think they wanted to go out in the streets and be there? Heck no. They're putting their life on the line when they go out there, just like anybody else who's out in that mess. So there's a way to do things, and what just took place is not the right way.
Exactly.
Well, and we've seen it. We saw it in Ferguson. We're seeing it here. And the sad thing is that when you look back at Ferguson, the businesses that were destroyed or looted were minority businesses.
That's the point.
That's what makes no sense. Voltaire said, "I do not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it." And that's the point, is say it, not act out on it.
Exactly.
And it's truly, and it reminds me of situations where you're just taking advantage of the situation. And that element is so small in this case. It's so small. It's not every person who's protesting Freddie Gray's death. It's not every person who's trying to bring attention to what's happened here. It's that small minority of people who've decided to take advantage of civil unrest and use it to their own advantage. And use it to go out and destroy and do things that, you know, we just don't find appealing. And the thing is that you're not hurting anybody but yourselves. And unfortunately, what it does is it gives people who might not be racist this idea that, oh my God, look at what these African Americans are doing to their own town. What kind of people are they? Well, every African American I've ever met in my life has been an upstanding person, for the most part. I mean, I've met a couple of people that I looked at, both white and black, and said, I don't know anything to do with you. So it doesn't reflect on a community as a whole, or it shouldn't, but it does.
What I want to do right now is I want to see if I can get this video up, because I want people to kind of see, if you guys haven't had the opportunity to see anything yet, there's a video from Baltimore I want to play for you guys right now. So let's take a quick moment and take a look at this. And this is just, you know, a couple of days ago. Breaking windows, it's just crazy.
And that's not called for, and that's not going to get me as Joe Average American to support you. It just isn't. To me, you're no better than the person you're protesting, and you're protesting the police, and you're no better than they are at this point.
I mean,
that's the case.
I mean, it's bad. Now they're going after the police cars.
Right. And ultimately, who has to pay for that? The taxpayers.
15 police officers with sustained injuries, 2 fighting for their life, or you know, were in that situation at some point. And so we're going to take 15 police officers down, destroy police cars, put these shop owners in harm's way when we destroy their business, and terrorize the innocent of the area. Only thugs do this. That's the action of a mob.
Listen, I understand they're trying to put the word out, they're trying to protest, and I'm okay with the peaceful protest, but when it comes to the nonsense of going out and doing what you see in this video, it's just way too much. It's overboard.
It is, and I mean, you see the security cam. There's tons of videos out there, and I've probably seen 15 or 20 just watching the news alone. But you see that you see them breaking into shops and taking things out of it. How does that honor the memory of this guy that died? How does that bring awareness to the circumstances under which he died? How does that help at all? It doesn't. And you know what? Like I said, it's only a few of them. It's not the vast majority of people who are upset about this.
You know what gets me is the fact that, okay, you know, they're trying to start off as a protest, a peaceful protest, and they broke out to something, you know, overboard, where somebody starts breaking into cars and smashing windows, and everybody's like, oh, let's go join the fun. They're breaking windows, why can't we? And that's just becomes, I just don't understand it.
Well, think about it. If they had any iota of shame and had listened to the family of the victim, who asked for there not to be any violence due to what took place on the death of his, on the anniversary, basically the anniversary of his death, almost 30 days, you know, of the burial. Now they're burying him, and then they have a riot outbreak on that day. You know, the family prayed and asked the church, asked the community, asked everybody, please do not act out in a violent way. Do not let this become another Ferguson.
And the latest person to come out and talk about this was Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis came out today and has an impassioned video requesting that the citizens of Baltimore come together for this. Let's stop this. Let's get and the Baltimore Orioles had to cancel a home game. They're not playing there.
Right.
Because of the situation. Carnival Cruise Lines had to release a statement today that says they're monitoring the situation in Baltimore as to whether or not the Carnival Pride will make its sailing date from Baltimore. I mean, this is affecting more than just the people involved. It's affecting the city as a whole, and it's affecting people's lives in the sense that businesses can't open, money can't be made, the economy's suffering.
Here's part of the problem. You're looking at one of the most economically depressed areas is Baltimore. One of the cities would be Baltimore. Yeah. Another one is St. Louis. Richmond. I mean, you've got some cities in that area that are very, very economically depressed, and they're doing this to themselves. I mean, not very much common sense on the part of the thugs who decided they were going to destroy all this stuff and burn these things down. And I call them thugs for a reason, because they were no longer protesting. They were no longer citizens. They became a lynch mob, basically.
They were taking advantage of the situation. I mean, the chief operating officer for the Orioles came out and made a statement, and he said this is symptomatic of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is a lot of the jobs that used to be in Baltimore and the manufacturing have now been sent overseas. So there's no jobs anymore. Mm-hmm. So these people have nothing to do with their time.
It was an industrialized manufacturing area, such as Detroit, and those areas are taking the biggest hit. And it's a product of outsourcing, basically, all over the United States right now. And there's no jobs, but they have to realize they're not the only ones who are not doing what they used to do.
But you know what? What I found funny too, that Kevin and myself were talking about while you were walked away, whatever. But there was during this riot, there was a mom that saw her son partaking in this riot, and the mom slapped the living hell out of her son for participating in this riot.
Yeah, I saw the video also.
She took him to task.
Yes, that's what we need. But another big problem in the community in which this is taking place, and Ray Lewis has spoke on this before, and that's the absentee fathers.
Yeah. And that's a problem too. That's and I think that's part of the problem we face in the United States is we'll look at the elephant in the room and ignore it.
Exactly.
And what we're ignoring is that certain communities have more issues than others, and rather than addressing those issues for fear of it sounding like we're being racist, we ignore them.
Hold on.
And I think that we need to be looking at those communities and doing a better job as a community, as a county, as a state, as a nation. We need to find out what's going on and fix these problems. That's what we need to do. And single moms, not all of them are this mom that are going to go out there and grab their son by the scruff of his neck and slap the snot out of him. They're going to be, you go, son, make sure you get me a big screen.
Exactly. Hey, listen, I found a video. I'm going to see if I can get it up for you guys. I found it up on Facebook, actually, so I'm going to go ahead and play this so people can kind of see it. Look at this. She's smacking the living hell out of him. It's like, why would you do or partake in that?
Exactly. Why?
She's whooping him. I mean, he's like a young teenager.
Exactly. His age is the part that is really, scary.
You hope he's been brought up right. You hope you can see that she's trying.
Yeah.
But I had a student a number of years ago, and the kid was brilliant. I mean, this kid was super smart, and they have a thing in the school system called gifted for kids that are above average IQ, and this kid was from a very poor neighborhood, a single mom home, and I said, dude, you are like one of the smartest kids I know. And he looked at me and said, don't say that too loudly. And I said, why? He says, it's not popular to be smart in my neighborhood. And I said, I want to have you tested for gifted so you can be in a class you need. Oh no, Said, I can't do that. And this kid acted out all the time. He got referrals, he got suspended, because that was what was popular.
Yeah, well, you know, we have somebody else in our midst here. Where the DJ comes from in Connecticut, that is one of the most economically depressed areas, and it's a very, very bad part of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Hartford as a child with my mom and my grandfather and my stepfather and my first stepfather, and went to East Hartford Elementary, where, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, you know, and you got kids in the courtyard beating the crap out of each other. Fighting was just a part of the you know, social makeup of what took place there, and it's only gotten worse. There was more family units then, but you could see the start of the erosion, as Kevin said. The height of the erosion took place when outsourcing started, and all these manufacturing plants started moving to Europe, started moving to Southeast Asia, the Western and Eastern Bloc fell, and it opened everything up for all these countries who had never had manufacturing, and now they do, and they found a way to make garments, they found a way to make just all products, and it was all American companies going over there. Now we lost all that industry, and we're feeling the brunt of it right now.
Well, and the other thing is, and you know, this is going to sound wrong, but the other thing is when we started busing, because what happened when we started busing was you took kids out of their neighborhood schools and sent them to a different school where nobody had any vested interest in them. When you had neighborhood schools, before transportation was this major thing, I mean, you know, even back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, there wasn't, you know, population wasn't as mobile as it is today, but you had people who lived in the community, who taught at the neighborhood school, and they knew your mother, they knew your father, they knew you. They saw you on the weekend, and you had to answer to them.
You had community infrastructure in place to handle that were at hand, and especially when you look at ethnicity in pockets, especially in like New York and the Bronx and the boroughs and stuff like that. You know, the ethnic makeup of that community is what that community is all about. And there's enough to support the people, and the people support each other there.
Yeah.
Like you said, they start busting them all out. Now you're taking away the core of what it's about.
All right, the school I worked at, the public school I worked at here in town, had kids that were bused 20, 25, 30 minutes. They live over by my house, and they were bused 30 minutes to the school where I worked. And most of their parents didn't have cars or didn't have reliable transportation, so they couldn't go meet with the teacher if they wanted to. Whereas their neighborhood school was within walking distance of where they lived. So why take them from their neighborhood school and send them to another school? The theory was that you're sending them to a better school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're sending them to a better school, why not improve their neighborhood school?
Exactly.
I mean, that makes no sense at all. Why not improve their neighborhood school?
But that's the norm. You know, run away from the problem. Don't address the problem.
Right, and that's the thing, is that, you know, and I keep going back to schools because that's what I'm familiar with, but that's where it really starts. It starts there. The mistrust of the establishment starts in public school or private school or charter school or whatever school you go to. That's where the mistrust starts for a lot of kids, because they don't know who to trust, because they've never been brought up to trust anybody.
Right.
You know, whereas my son immediately goes to school and trusts his kindergarten teacher that she has his best interests in heart, whereas a kid from a neighborhood where that's not the norm, what do you want from me, lady? Why are you doing this for me? Why are you being nice to me? What do you want from me? I'm not going to do that because I don't trust you.
Yeah, you know, there's something else I wanted to bring up on the show tonight before we got like 25 minutes left in the show, but I did wanted to bring up another topic on the show tonight. It's kind of spur of the moment thing, but about child abuse in America. We see a lot of this happening especially I know where in my neck of the woods I've been seeing a lot of these parents walking down the street acting like they really don't care. They're smacking up their kids like it's no big deal. And what frustrates me the most is, listen, I was born and raised, the old school fashion way where, you know what, if your kid really does something wrong, you give them an old school butt whipping. But listen, now these days you can't do that anymore. You don't have that option because you'll be sent to jail. That kind of thing. But so let's just say if you guys were walking down the street, you guys were in a shopping center or whatever you guys are doing, and you see a kid act out, and the parent smacks them up right there in public. What are your thoughts on that? Would you be like, oh, you know what, they deserve that, or what?
Wow, that's a really good question, and I've not been in this situation where I've seen that occur, but it really depends on how, because I've seen situations where parents are disciplining their kids, and there's a big difference between discipline and abuse, and that's the line that's been blurred. I mean, you've got Adrian Peterson, who beat his kid with a switch to the point where he left marks on his legs. That's abuse. Now, if I'm not going to smack my kid upside the head. I think that's wrong, because that in itself is not a good thing. But if I see a parent smack their kid across the backside, I'm probably not going to say anything. Now, if they smack them in the head, that's a different story, because you just don't hit people in the head. That's meant with more intent than smacking them across the backside. Because the backside's padded, so you got a little bit of protection there. But abuse in general, whether it be children or women, has just caused me a lot of angst, because I just don't. That's something I can't ever see. I've never had to spank my son. I've never had to do it. I hope I don't have to do it. But he knows that threat is there if he does something that's really stupid.
So, with you being an old school, you're from the old school generation and stuff like that, how do you discipline your kid? You just take stuff that he likes away from him and say, hey, you know what, don't do that again?
Well, it's all about currency. I mean, we say currency and we think money, but truthfully, currency is anything that motivates you in life. Some kids, currency for them is taking away television. For others, it's taking away video games. For others, it's, go sit in your room and sit on your bed. For some, it's, chores, or you're going to make them do something they don't ordinarily do. For my son, most of what he has stuff taken away for relates to school, because he's not gotten good grades, or I've gotten a report from the teacher that says he's not trying, or he's not paying attention or something. I mean, it has to. If the teacher tells me one day he's not paying attention, I'm not going to take away his video games. But recently his teacher said, "Look, he acts like he really doesn't care." Then yeah, I'm going to take away his video games till he cares.
Yeah.
I say, look at in general children who are acting like that in public, or who are bad in public, or who are abused in general. It's called a vested interest. What type of investing do the actual parents or the family unit have in the children? Whether they're working or not, but letting that child know that, hey, I have to work, but when I'm off, we're together. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to spend every minute I have with you. It's about you. Letting that child know that just because mom has to work, or mom and dad have to work, or they're not here, doesn't mean they don't care and love me. It's showing different things. I mean, I grew up for the first 8 years of my life. I had no father figure in any place. My mom, worked, and I had to live with my godparents and 5 other kids, but I was always loved and taken care of no matter where I was, and my mother never put me in harm's way. And she was always there when I needed her. She, and I understood, hey, I have to work, and this is why it'll get better, and it did. I didn't act out because I knew my mother loved me. I knew I was getting, the best of everything. And I think if your children know that, and the children know that the parents sincerely love them, and they're doing what they have to do, but they raise them, they give them ethics, they give them moral fortitude on how to be a good person, a good citizen, and how to act and teach them this. I mean, not just, oh, you do this, but teach them how to be that. I think that's where we're seeing a loss.
And and Mike makes a really good point, because, you know, parents today, you know, if they'll put a kid in front of a TV and leave them there because the TV babysits them, there's no vested interest on the part of the parent there. You know, it shuts my kid up while I get to do whatever it is I want to do for the next half hour, 45 minutes, hour, 2 hours, and suddenly it turns into all day, and you're not even monitoring what they're watching. So, and Mike is exactly right. My son, I'm in his face all the time. Not in a bad way, but just to let him know I'm here, you know, and I'm concerned. And he doesn't have a chance to get away with anything because we know it all.
You know, you gotta get, you know, I see it as, you know, for those of you who have kids and those who don't, who are looking to have kids, listen, there's going to be a part in their life as they grow up. You're going to need to give them their space. You're going to let them, you know, make their mistakes, let them grow. But when it comes to, you know, disciplining your kids in public, there are ways to do it, and there's just ways not to do it. So just watch out in the way you do it, because the way that it used to be done back in the day, you can't do it that way anymore. So you definitely got to be very, very careful.
You can't, and you know, you see what happens in the case of Adrian Peterson. You know, the guy really did a number on his child. Now he's going to get to play again. Do I think he should? I don't think so. I don't think he should get to play again. You know, if I did that and my work found out, I'd get fired. I'd have to go get another job. You know?
But people don't realize that these days, especially this generation, kids have a lot of say. A kid can go to school and say, hey, you know what? You be the nicest parent in the world. But a kid can go to school and say, hey, you know what? My mom's not letting me do this. Well, my mom hit me.
And guess what I have to do as a teacher?
You have to report it, of course.
As a teacher, if a kid comes to school and tells me my parent beat me or my parent hit me, I am then obligated under the law in the state of Florida to call Department of Children and Family Services and let them know what I've heard. And if I don't, then I'm just as culpable for whatever happens to them as the person who does it.
Right.
Because if I don't report it and the child dies or something, or the child is injured, and the child said, well, I told my teacher, guess who else is going to end up in hot water?
Yeah.
Me.
You're going to lose your job for not reporting it. So
exactly. And I'm going to end up on the front page of the news because I didn't do anything.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys ever need any assistance, whether you're a parent, you're a new parent, you're having some serious issues with your child, you can always come write us privately. Say, hey, I'm having issues with my child. Either one of us will be happy to give you advice on certain things. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to not only educate you guys, but lead you in the right direction. Because the last thing you want to do is end up behind bars and for wanting to kill your kid. Because listen, I'll tell you, kids are not easy. There are kids out there that are out of hand who are 11 years old, who act like they're 21 or 25, and you just want to smack them up, but you can't do that. You just can't.
No, you can't. There are those little girls that show up in 3rd grade that wears a shirt that says, "You can't afford me."
Wow! I've been telling that Mike for a while. He just doesn't listen to me.
No, I had a little 3rd grader show up one year, and she was in a short skirt that had "Juicy" written across the back of it, and then she had a shirt that says, "You can't afford me."
Listen, that's not.
And I had to think about that and go, I'm not sure I want to try and afford you.
That's not even cute. I mean, not so ever. Oh man. It's okay. I mean, Mike could get away with wearing a Juicy shirt.
Yeah, he could. Kids will, and as a parent, I'm going to tell you, parents, your kids will rat you out.
In a heartbeat.
I'm here to tell you, they will rat you out. I remember I was working as a substitute at a school, and I made an announcement about they were going to have a charity bingo night at the school. And the little kid came up and said, "It's too bad I can't come." And I said, "That's too bad." And he said, "Well, my mother works at night." And I said, "Oh." And he says, "She likes to dance." So they will rat you out in a heartbeat.
Wow.
They're so brutally honest, they don't realize it either.
That's right.
I've never been able to have kids, and Denise and I don't have kids, and we did the classes, and I had somebody one time tell me, look at me, because I said about how they were treating their kids, and they looked at me and said, "You don't have any kids. How would you know?"
Exactly. Don't you hate when they try to tell you, "Don't get in my business. You ain't got no kids."
You know, and I said, "Well, you know what? I think I learned enough through DCF in 12. I think it was 12 or 15 week parenting class that Denise and I both went to, and I said, I think I learned enough in those 12 to 15 weeks to tell you I do know about how to deal with children."
Talk about, "You ain't my daddy. Don't be talking to me like you're my daddy. You ain't my mama."
In order to adopt DCF, you have to go through the state of Florida through their DCF parenting classes, and be approved after that. And then they come and do your home study. You get fingerprinted and everything else, and background checks. If you even want to be a foster parent or adopt. And I learned enough helping raise my little sister. But when I went through that class, I learned a lot about parenting, a lot, and had a lot of insight from parents who were in the class, you know, who were just trying to adopt and go through the same thing. So it's not all it's made up to be, but that term I use, vested. If you're not vested in your children, then you're not a parent.
That's right. And if you don't approach parenting as a job, you're approaching it the wrong way. And what you have to realize is you have plenty of time after they turn 18 to be their friend.
Well, parents never truly stop being parents. Children never really grow up in a parent's eyes, and vice versa. Your mom is your mom and your dad is your dad, no matter how old you are and how old they are.
So let me ask you, and this kind of brings up a good point, thanks to Kevin. Now, is there a point in their life where you should be their friend and their parent? Because sometimes I see that people, like, their kids get a little too comfortable with certain situations, and it's like, oh, well, my parents are really, really cool, instead of being a real parent. Like, I've seen parents go out and hang out with their kids, you know, at 16, 17, trying to get them up in the club. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, and you know, from my perspective, go ahead, Mike.
Look at this,
Mike.
You're never truly going to be a friend or a parent. You're going to be both. Your children have to look at you as a friend and a parent, their best friend, because truly you're their only friend for a long period of time, who is looking out for them, who is teaching them, who is building a relationship with them and teaching them how to be around people and how to act. That friendship grows because of the trust and respect that child has for the parent, not just love as a parental figure. Are you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That you're always going to be a friend to a certain degree. You have to be a friend of that child, and vice versa. Because you can't draw the line and say, I'm not their friend, I'm just their parent, and vice versa, because it's kind of one and the same in all. You have to. Your child, if you weren't some sort of friend relationship with your child wouldn't come to you and tell you things that they would tell other people.
Gotcha.
Because you know your child will tell someone else something before they'll tell you if they don't feel comfortable with you as a parent. Correct?
And you know, there's a certain someone out there who says, you know, it takes a community to raise a child, and in a lot of senses it really does, because I have parents who come to me and said, look, will you friend my child on Facebook? And I'm like, all right. Why? And they say, because they don't always talk to us, but they'll talk to you because they trust you. And I said, okay, that works for me. And I've always told my son, you know, look, if there's something you don't feel you can tell me, you need to have an adult in your life that you trust and that you'll talk to. Because maybe you think my opinion will be a certain way that, you know, you don't want to hear what I have to say. Well, you know, and he has people like that in his life, that if he has to talk to them, he can. And I have kids that will private message me all the time and say, you know, well, my mom said this to me, and I don't really think that's fair. And I'll answer them honestly as a parent, you know, who has no vested interest in their life at this point other than being a sounding board.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's done with their parents' knowledge that if they tell me something that is life-threatening, I'm going to tell them. And I've told the kids that too. So, it's more than just you being a parent. It's about you building a network of people around your children. Now, there are people out there that say that comes through church, and it does, or it comes through your neighbors, it does, but it also comes through your family, you know, because my son will talk to my brother-in-law if there's something up, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. And as far as being his friend, yeah, I'm his friend, but he also understands I'm his parent. And do I want to be the cool parent? No, I just happen to be a fairly cool parent, but I don't necessarily want to be. I want to be the one that when my child is older, he says, you know, I learned a lot from my dad, or wow, my dad was a great dad. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah. So, Kevin, would you be my daddy?
Absolutely, I will be your daddy.
Yay! Who's your daddy? I'm just kidding.
Now go to your room.
Well, I don't know how far to go. But
just across the table, huh?
I'll go ahead and mention real quick before we got like a few more minutes before we get off air. But I want to just let everybody go. Please don't forget to tune in this coming Friday night. Friday night for Friday Night Music Request Live, starting at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be bringing you your music requests live, shout-outs, all that good stuff. But then don't forget, we'll be broadcasting on Saturday as well, starting at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all the way going through Sunday. We're going to be celebrating our 5-year anniversary show. So we're going to be broadcasting, playing all the great tunes. Maybe you guys can join me anytime via the webcam, have a drink with me or so, and just sit back and chat it up and whatever it is. So we'll be broadcasting on Saturday night from 11 p.m. up until whenever on Sunday, however far it goes. And we're going to be celebrating, our 5-year anniversary. Plus, we'll be celebrating my birthday, baby, birthday bash. Gonna have a good time.
so feel free to call in and sing happy birthday to DJ.
Oh God!
You know he needs to hear your lovely voices Saturday.
Listen, if I hear like 20 calls saying happy birthday, I'm gonna like probably flip. I will ban the phone calls.
I will try not to sing out of key.
Maybe we'll get Kevin and Professor to do some karaoke.
Hey, I'd love to do karaoke sometime, man. We need to do another one of those fun shows, you know?
Yeah.
This was a great show. I mean, tonight was wonderful. We need to do one of those that's not so heavy, you know?
I know, exactly. You know, it's kind of free flowing, and I didn't have Professor here knocking over my equipment or spilling stuff all over the place. You know, it was different.
Yeah, it was nice to see. It was nice to see Professor straight up and down instead of like at an angle on the webcam.
I thought I was seeing like a 3D like attraction. It's like
And of course, but you know, we both could have been very distracting tonight because he's in a chair that swivels and I'm in a rocking chair. So, you know.
Yeah, tonight I'm sorry, go ahead, buddy.
No, so it's just kind of weird to be in a rocking chair and swiveling, watching Mike turn back and forth and you rocking back and forth.
It's all good. But for those who don't know, Professor was not in studio tonight. He kind of took a break and said, hey, just stay home. We'll broadcast from your house. It's fine. So he's broadcasting from his home studio, and, of course, Iceman's at his home studio. But with that being said, guys, we'll get ready to head out of here. So do you guys have any final comments before we get out of here?
I think we covered everything. Kevin, what do you think?
I think we covered everything. Just, don't forget, next week, same time, same channel. We're the weekly rundown every Tuesday night, 7 to 9 o'clock. And make sure you visit our wonderful sponsors, JustCast Live, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and I understand, and our newest one, TuneIn. If you haven't gone to TuneIn yet, go to TuneIn, check it out. It doesn't take much to register. You can listen to our show, and there are lots of other programs that you can listen to when we're not on. Because you're not allowed to listen to anything if we're on. That's just the way it goes. You know, we'll come to your house and stuff like that.
Listen, I will have Professor peek in your window.
That's right. We also have a deal with Amazon, so keep checking our webpage, keep checking our Facebook pages, and hit us up on Facebook and make sure you look for our sponsors. They're the reason we can bring you the content we bring you. So show them some love and definitely do business with them and let them know that you like what you're hearing on this program.
See, but most importantly, Professor, tell us why you love iHeartRadio.
Why do I love iHeartRadio? Because I can listen to iHeartRadio anytime I want. On my phone, on my iPad, in my car, jacked up from my iPod, I can pull up iHeart and listen to this radio show on the go.
Love your radio again with iHeartRadio.
Oh, there you go. All right, guys, we're getting ready to head out here. Thank you guys so much for everything. Till next time, I am DJ Friktion.
I am Kevin the Iceman Tapee.
And I'm the Professor, Michael Benson.
And we'll see you guys soon, y'all. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, Saturday night, birthday bash. It all goes down starting at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't go anywhere. See you soon, babies. And don't forget to check out our official website, www.102DLGRadioOrlando.com.
Peace.
Today's show is brought to you by our great friends at Amazon.com. Get all your latest gadgets, appliances, and so much more. For those special deals, head on over to our official website, www.102DLGRadioOrlando.com, and click on the Amazon icon today. Get your special deals today. What's up, guys? DJ Friktion here to remind you, if you really enjoy what we do here at 102.DLG Radio, take the time to support our program by going over to our official website, www.102DLGRadioOrlando.com, and donate today. That's right, some of y'all. Go on over and donate today and show your love for the show, y'all. And we'll keep doing what we do here. Much love. Check us out on iHeartRadio. That's right, I said it, y'all. You can check us out on iHeartRadio each and every single week. Bringing you the best in talk radio, plus bringing you the top 40, bringing you some of the best in dance hits, some merengue, some salsa, and if you're good to us, we're going to bring you some classic 80s. So spread the love, y'all. Let me know it's going down. It's happening right here on iHeartRadio at 102.DLG Radio with yours truly, DJ Friktion and the Professor, Michael Benson.